Right now in America, there are millions of people working full-time who are still financially anxious. They make decent money, they pay their bills, they look stable from the outside. But internally, one surprise expense would shake everything. And here's the part nobody tells you. The difference between constant financial anxiety and real momentum is not $1 million. It's not even $100,000. It's $20,000. That's the line where life quietly shifts. Not flashy, not Instagram-worthy, but transformational. Because before $20,000, you're surviving. After $20,000, you start building. Let me explain. Imagine two people in the same city. Same income, same rent, same lifestyle. One has $1,500 in savings. The other has $20,000 invested and sitting in a high-yield account and index funds. When their company announces layoffs, the first person feels panic immediately. Heart rate up, sleep gone, desperation mode activated. The second person, they feel concern, but also clarity. They have time, and time is power. That's what $20,000 really buys you, time. And time changes decisions. Scarcity psychology is real. When your bank balance is low, your brain narrows its focus. You think short-term. You avoid risk. You cling to safety, even if that safety is underpaying you or draining you. You say yes when you want to say no. You tolerate what you shouldn't tolerate. You don't negotiate hard because you can't afford to lose. But cross 20,000 and something subtle happens. Your nervous system calms down. You stop obsessively checking your banking app. You stop calculating groceries in your head. You stop fearing every unknown number calling your phone. And when fear drops, strategy rises. This is the mental shift nobody talks about. Now let's talk math, because the math is where momentum becomes visible. Say you invest $20,000 in a simple S&P 500 index fund, averaging 8% annually. That's $1,600 growth in a year. No extra work, no overtime, no side hustle. Just ownership. Compare that to someone with $2,000 invested. Same 8%. That's $160. Same percentage, completely different impact. This is when compounding stops feeling theoretical and starts feeling real. Your first $20,000 might take years. Budgeting, sacrifice, discipline, driving the paid-off car when everyone else upgrades, skipping lifestyle inflation when your income rises, saying no to impressing people who won't matter in 5 years. It's uphill. But here's the part that changes everything. Your second $20,000 comes faster, because now your money is contributing. If you're investing $500 per month at 8%, hitting $20,000 from zero might take around 32 months. But going from $20,000 to $40,000, the timeline shrinks because growth stacks on growth and momentum is addictive. But the biggest shift isn't financial, it's identity. Before $20,000, you're trying to save. After $20,000, you're someone who saves. That identity upgrade affects every future decision. You stop asking, can I afford this monthly payment? And start asking, what is this costing my future? That $700 car payment isn't just $700 anymore. It's $700 plus lost compound growth. Over 5 years invested at 8%, that same $700 monthly becomes over $50,000. Same income, different thinking. And this is where most Americans get stuck. We optimize small expenses but ignore massive ones. We stress about $5 coffee but casually sign for $40,000 cars. The person who hits $20,000 starts thinking in opportunity cost automatically. Not in a restrictive way, but in a powerful way. Because once you taste financial breathing room, you protect it. Here's another shift. Unexpected expenses stop feeling catastrophic. A $1,200 repair is annoying, not devastating. A medical bill is manageable, not paralyzing. You sleep better, you think clearer, and better thinking leads to better earning decisions. That clarity often increases income more than any certification ever could. And then something fascinating happens at work. When you have $20,000 saved, you stop negotiating from fear. You ask for raises differently. You interview differently. You carry yourself differently. You don't need the job to survive. And paradoxically, that makes you more valuable. Confidence signals competence. Managers sense it, opportunities follow it, and income grows. Positive feedback loop. But here's the warning. The moment many people hit $20,000, they sabotage it. They feel ahead and reward themselves with a luxury purchase that resets progress. Listen carefully. $20,000 is not celebration money. It's foundation money. It's the base layer of your wealth pyramid. Without it, everything above is fragile. With it, everything above grows faster. Think about this long term. Two people earn $90,000 a year. One spends $88,000, one spends $65,000 and invests the difference. 10 years later, their lifestyles look similar on Instagram. But behind the scenes, one has stress, one has options. And options compound faster than dollars. That's what 20,000 unlocks. Options. The option to leave, the option to invest, the option to wait, the option to say no, the option to think long term. And once you have options, you stop reacting to life and start designing it. Now imagine fast forwarding 5 years. Instead of starting from zero, you started from 20,000. That head start alone can mean tens of thousands in additional growth because wealth isn't linear, it's exponential. Early momentum matters more than late effort. And here's the deeper truth. $20,000 proves something to yourself. It proves you can delay gratification in a culture designed to make you consume. It proves you can prioritize long-term freedom over short-term validation. It proves you can control money instead of letting money control you. That self-trust is priceless, and self-trust scales. Because once you believe you can build $20,000, $50,000 no longer feels impossible. $100,000 becomes a math problem instead of a fantasy. The game changes. You stop playing defense, you start playing offense. And this is only the beginning. Because what happens after 20,000, when compounding accelerates, when income rises, when investments snowball, that's when wealth stops feeling distant and starts feeling inevitable. But you have to cross the first real threshold. And that threshold isn't $1 million, it's $20,000. Now here's where everything changes even more after $20,000. Because once you protect that base and keep investing, the acceleration becomes visible in a way most people have never experienced. When you move from 20,000 to 50,000, something psychologically locks in. You stop wondering, will this work? And start asking, how fast can I scale this? At $50,000 invested at 8%, that's $4,000 a year in growth. That's over $300 a month showing up without clocking in. For the first time, your money starts paying a small bill. Maybe your utilities, maybe your insurance. And when investments start covering real-life expenses, the concept of financial freedom stops being abstract. Then comes $100,000. This is where the compounding curve bends. At 8%, $100,000 generates $8,000 per year on average. Some years more, some years less. But zoom out, that's over $650 per month. Now your investments could cover groceries or a car payment or half your rent in many cities. And here's the wild part, you're still contributing monthly. So growth stacks on contributions, stacks on growth. This is the snowball effect people talk about but rarely feel because most never stay consistent long enough to reach it. But let's be honest, the jump from 20,000 to 100,000 isn't just math, it's behavior. And behavior is driven by identity. By the time you cross 20,000 and protect it, you've already built discipline. You've already proven you can delay lifestyle inflation. So when your income rises, and it likely will because confident people earn more over time, you don't automatically upgrade everything. You upgrade strategically. That raise doesn't become a bigger car payment. It becomes a bigger investment contribution. And this is where average earners quietly outpace high earners who spend everything. Because wealth isn't built by income alone. It's built by retention and multiplication. Let's run a realistic American scenario. Someone earning $75,000 per year decides to invest $1,000 per month consistently after reaching $20,000. At 8% average returns, in 10 years, they're sitting around $220,000 to $250,000 depending on market conditions. Not from some crypto gamble, not from picking hot stocks, just from consistency. Now that portfolio at 8% generates roughly $20,000 per year in average growth. That's over $1,600 per month. That's when the feeling changes again, because now your money is producing what many people earn working part-time, and you're still working, still contributing, still compounding. This is where wealth starts to feel inevitable instead of hopeful. But the deeper transformation nobody talks about. Once your investments begin generating meaningful annual growth, you become less emotionally reactive to market swings. When you only have $2,000 invested, a market drop feels terrifying. When you have $200,000 invested and understand long-term compounding, a dip feels like a discount. That emotional maturity is powerful. You stop panic selling, you start thinking like an owner. And ownership is how wealth is built in America, not through wages, but through equity. Equity in businesses, equity in index funds, equity in real estate. Ownership shifts you from labor to leverage, and leverage is what separates middle-class survival from upper-tier stability. Now, let's talk about freedom. Not retirement on a yacht freedom, realistic freedom. When your portfolio hits $250,000 at 8%, that's $20,000 per year average growth. If your annual expenses are $50,000, you're covering 40% of your lifestyle through growth alone. Think about that. You only need to earn the remaining 60%. That changes how you work. Maybe you switch to a lower stress job. Maybe you start a business. Maybe you negotiate remote work and move somewhere cheaper. Flexibility increases as dependency decreases. And dependency is what keeps most people stuck. Debt dependency, income dependency, lifestyle dependency. Crossing 20,000 starts breaking that chain. Scaling beyond it shatters it. But let's address the elephant in the room. What if the market crashes? It will, multiple times. But historically, broad US markets have trended upward over decades despite recessions, wars, pandemics, political chaos. Long-term ownership has rewarded patience.
The key is time in the market, not timing the market. And the earlier you cross 20,000 and stay invested, the more cycles you benefit from. Crashes stop being threats and start being accelerators if you're still contributing. That's advanced thinking, and it begins with the first serious milestone. Now here's something even more powerful. Once your net worth crosses 6 figures, conversations change. Banks treat you differently. Investment opportunities open. Private deals appear. Not secret billionaire clubs, but better lending terms, better credit leverage, better flexibility. Money attracts optionality, and optionality attracts growth. But none of that happens if you never build the first base layer. That's why 20,000 matters so much. It's proof of concept. It's psychological armor. It's your first real asset engine. And if you're sitting there thinking, I'm nowhere near $20,000, understand this. The speed doesn't matter at first. Direction does. Even $200 invested consistently builds the muscle. Even $300 monthly creates momentum, because momentum compounds psychologically before it compounds financially. The habit is the hard part. The math is predictable. And here's the final shift most people never articulate. Once your investments begin covering a noticeable percentage of your expenses,
Work becomes optional in a way it never was before. You may still choose to work, you may even love working, but needing to work at any cost disappears. And when need disappears, power appears. You negotiate differently, you live differently, you spend differently, you think generationally instead of monthly. That's when wealth stops being about survival and starts being about legacy. College funds, paid off homes, financial literacy passed down, stability that ripples outward. And it all traces back to crossing one quiet but powerful threshold, $20,000. So if you remember nothing else from this video, remember this. Don't chase flashy milestones first. Chase stability, protect your base, build the first $20,000 like your future depends on it, because it does. Once you cross it, guard it, grow it. Let compounding do what it has done for centuries, because everything changes after $20,000. Not overnight, not magically, but mathematically, psychologically, strategically. And if you stay consistent long enough, one day you'll look back and realize the hardest part wasn't getting rich. It was believing that the first real milestone mattered.